Welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey Graham. Join us here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where the independent new authors come first. Author Joyce Babel-Worth has just released a new coming-of-age novel titled Petal. And Joyce is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to be talking all about it. Joyce, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Joyce, can you tell me all about Petal and what readers are going to be getting into here?
Well, it's a story about set in 1977. It's about a young man that's kind of a coming-of-age story. He turns 18, he graduates from high school, and he needs to kind of escape and have some adventure, and he's a little angsty, so he just is looking for a way to prove his mettle, more or less. So that's about the story in a nutshell. He decides he's going to pedal his bike from the West Coast in Oregon and go to see the Mackinac Bridge, which is the bridge that spans between the upper and lower peninsula of Michigan.
Joyce, what kinds of readers did you have in mind for it?
Well, I think that it could be a young adult. There's been some high school kids that are reading it now and have read it that really have enjoyed it. And then kind of an adult. It's an adult book, but it could be any age, really. I think by 15 and up, maybe.
So, Joyce, how did this all come about? What inspired you to write this?
Well, I wrote it first as a short story, just kind of, I guess, just an exercise. I'm a commercial artist by trade, and I worked in the advertising industry. So I did a lot of little commercial writing and, headline writing and some billboard writing, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to kind of write a story. So I came up with a short story. And then along the way, a friend and I did the November kind of 50,000 words in 30 days writing exercise. And once I did that, then I had the story a little bulkier. Then COVID started, and I had time to make it into a novel.
So when it comes to writing novels and publishing and all of that, is this your first time around, or do you have some experience doing this?
Nope, this is my first one.
So overall, the writing, the publishing, everything, was this a long process for you?
It seems like it is a pretty long process. I'm going to say, for me, it's like 6, 7, 8 years or more. So that was pretty long.
So once you started working with your publisher, Covenant Books, Joyce, what do you say would be the most challenging part of that publishing end of things for you?
Well, it took a little bit to find somebody and then to know what I needed to do for them, other than just a manuscript. There's been other things along the way, like the editing and designing the cover. I'm a commercial artist by trade, so I was able to work on that with them. So I don't know what the most challenging, probably meeting my deadlines. I'm, kind of pokey.
So after all that time of working on this, that day finally came. It was a real thing. You're holding your first copy, Joyce. What was that moment like for you?
Well, when they showed up on my doorstep, it was pretty exciting, really, to just open the box and see what it's looking like and feel it in your hands. I guess it was kind of a moment of pride, like I actually accomplished this. And it gives me kind of a new admiration for people that go ahead and finish a novel, because a lot of people talk about it.
So now you're a published novelist. Joyce, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Well, probably just what I said, just that I was able to complete it, to talk about it, to develop it along the way. I think probably one of the more challenging things for me is I knew what the story was going to be, but for the longest time, I didn't know how it was going to end. So that was a real challenge. And all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but at some point, it came to me how it should end. That made a big difference, but that was a real challenge just to get to that point.
Well, this sounds like a really fun book. Again, it's titled Petal. It's written by Joyce Babel-Worth and published by Covenant Books, and really available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, iTunes. also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Joyce, thanks again for coming on the show and talking with me all about Petal. It was a lot of fun. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This book is a fascinating look into the history of aeronautics through the eyes of an avid pilot. It's written by Stefan A. Cavallo, and it's titled The Flying Life. Chris, Stefan's son, is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to be talking all about this book. Chris, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Chris, can you tell me all about The Flying Life and what readers are going to expect here?
Well, this is a history of my father's career in aviation. He spent 75 years. He spent the first 7 years as a test pilot stationed down at Newport News, Virginia. And this was during World War II. And it was important what he was doing. He was testing P-51s primarily because we were losing them as they were escorting bombers over Europe, and they didn't know why. So it was his job to discover what the problem was, which they did. But from there, he went on and did some more test flying commercially for various companies, but continued privately up until about 7 years ago. Oh, I should say it's more than 7 years ago. It was in 2015 is when he stopped, and that was his 75th year aviation that he celebrated. So the book's about his journey. It's a very fast read. It's a very interesting read, and you don't really even need to be a pilot to enjoy it.
That's what I was going to ask. What sorts of readers do you think would be most into this? So it's not only pilots that this would appeal to.
Not really. He grew up in the Bronx, and he was always fascinated with flight, building model planes on his parents' kitchen table. And he went to NYU University, where he became an aeronautical engineer and got his pilot's license at 18, flying over at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. This is from a kid who was, as I said, was building model airplanes to ended up being a test pilot. And he also, interestingly enough, because of this, he was an aeronautical engineer. He designed the first crash helmet, which sits in the Smithsonian Institute of Aviation.
Wow.
And it's still there today, sitting next to Senator John Glenn's helmet. He had a great career, and we always appreciated it. I always loved flying with him. It's interesting that we're having this conversation today, June 10th. June 10th, 1989. He was 10 miles off the shore of Jones Beach on Long Island. He had a Cessna 210. The engine quit, and he was able to navigate it over to over the beach. It was very crowded, and he was able to land the plane without injuring anyone else nor injuring himself. So it's interesting that we're having this conversation today.
Oh, Chris, do you know what the motivation was to write this story and then publish this book?
Yeah, I had asked him because I was always fascinated with his life, not just his life in aviation, but he was an entrepreneur. And I asked him, why don't you write your memoirs? And he started on that about 25 years ago. And after he passed and I read the memoirs, I decided with my brother that we should take out the portion that had to do with aviation and make it a separate book. So that was the reason behind us making The Flying Life in his memory.
Once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, was there anything about that publishing process that you would say was particularly challenging for you?
I've never been involved in having a book or having a book published. And I interviewed several publishing companies, and I just felt confident and comfortable with the publisher. And they really made the process very, very easy, quite frankly. And other than kicking up some emotional moments going, through it and trying to get the book done in time, it was well done on their part. So I have to commend them.
This book is titled The Flying Life. It's written by Stefan A. Cavallo, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Chris, it's been really great talking with you tonight. Thanks again for being here with me.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking at a transformative guide for women seeking healing and self-love. It's the new book by Joy Gill. It's titled Recognizing Your Jesus in the Flesh. Joy is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to be talking all about it. Joy, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Joy. Can you tell me all about what you've written in Recognizing Your Jesus in the Flesh?
Yes. Well, Recognizing Your Jesus in the Flesh is written to inspire women to go after, seek for, wait upon the right relationships. Sometimes women are in such a rush to have a relationship due to peer pressure, also as a result of society, and tend to settle for less than their best. So the book is to encourage them to wait on God and work on themselves and get the best relationship for them.
Joy, how did this come about? What gave you the inspiration to start it?
Me having to learn to do what I teach. Actually, I was inspired by the Holy Spirit to write this book. I have a lot of experience, and I work with a lot of young women, and I said, well, I need to write something. I love to write anyway, so I need to write something like a guide for them as they go through their journey of life.
Joy, is this your first book, or have you done this before?
Yes, this is my first book. I always loved to write, and I used to write a lot of poetry, and so this is my first book. I have another one on the way, and it's for the men.
Wonderful. So being your first book, did this take a really long time to write and then put through that publishing process?
It didn't take as long to write as it took. I tell people it took me more years to walk through it than to actually write it. It took about a couple of years because I was really having to, gather my thoughts and then deal with, should I or shouldn't I, because I've never done it before. But actually, after I got into it, I loved it and been full speed ahead since.
I'm looking at it right now, and this cover is really beautiful, Joy. Was that a smooth process to get that put together?
I always envisioned that. Even before I actually started writing, when I came up with the title, well, that's a whole different story how I got the title. But from the moment I came up with the title, that cover was what I envisioned, and they made it possible. They did an excellent job.
So now you got to tell me, how did you come about this title?
Okay, so years ago, there was a brother in my church that had asked me a question. We were talking, about relationships and what have you. And he asked, what type of man are you looking for as far as for a husband? And so I started throwing some things out there, and he said, you want Jesus in the flesh. And we both laughed about it. And then here, years later, did not realize that conversation actually was planting the seed for the title of this book.
So now that you are a published author, Joy, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Completing it. And, different ones who have read it said how much it helped them and how it also helped them not just in relationships as far as a romantic relationship, but it caused them to recognize different members of the family and how to properly deal with them and set boundaries. So it's like, wow.
A lot of people listening to us right now are authors who are just starting out. So, Joy, would you have maybe some advice that you could toss out there for them?
You have a story that needs to be told. Don't be fearful. There will be some fear if you're just starting, but push past it, because whatever God has given you, it needs to go out into the atmosphere. Put it out there.
Great advice. What a wonderful message in this book. Again, it's titled Recognizing Your Jesus in the Flesh. It's written by Joy Gill, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Joy, thank you again for coming on the show and telling me all about this book. It was really great talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Author Gary Chase has just written a book titled Boom, Baby, Boom. And Gary is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. I'm going to find out all about this. Gary, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Corey.
Gary, can you tell me all about Boom, Baby, Boom? What are readers going to find here?
So this book is actually a complete guide for seniors on how to live healthy, happy, productive lives well into their senior years. It's a roadmap about exercise, diet, mental health, spiritual health, and even more. Everybody can actually benefit from the recommendations in this book if they practice those recommendations. It's written by a person that's well into their senior years, and I've experienced everything in this book, and I still practice what I recommend in this book. The title of the book, Boom, Baby, Boom, suggests that it's only for baby boomers. It is not. The earlier a person starts on this journey, the better they're going to feel as they navigate through their senior years. I actually recommend that folks start on the program that's outlined in the book while still in their 40s or 50s. That's kind of when I started really noticing the difference in practicing these. And it's not just for guys. I have 10 bios in the book, 4 of which are women. So, it's both for guys and gals. And there's a variety of activities that are in the appendices that each of the people that I have highlighted as bios in this book do several of these recommendations, like running, walking, strength training, biking, hiking, golfing, pickleball, just a variety of activities that if people don't understand how they're supposed to do it, there's appendices in the book for that.
So, Gary, what inspired you to write this book?
I actually had quite a few seniors ask me about how I keep my energy level so high and how I'm so productive. That was one of the things that motivated me to write this book, because I still run, bike, hike, and strength train at least 5 times a week. And, I can do as much as a 50-year-old can be, and I'm well past that age. So it was that plus my grandkids. I have 5 grandkids, and one of my grandsons, when he was in middle school and high school, would ask me to come over and shoot hoops with him and play one-on-one. I was in my 70s during that time, and I could do that. So the things that I'm recommending in this book, if you start early, you can put some longevity into your energy level like nobody's business. Those are the things that really inspired me.
So when it comes to writing, publishing, everything like that, Gary, are you new to this or do you have some experience in it?
So I actually started writing books during COVID, actually. I had actually started writing poetry when I was in grade school. My grandma was the one that kind of inspired that. She used to write poetry, music, all kinds of stuff, and so she encouraged the writing and poetry. So I've done that kind of thing since grade school, but I've never actually tried to publish anything until COVID, and I didn't want to just sit around during COVID. I had been retired at that point, so I wanted to do something. So I published 2 books of my poetry, and I actually published 15 kids' books with my oldest granddaughter. So that's kind of what inspired that. That's all short poetry stuff, even the kids' books. It's done for preschool kids. And I've never written anything with any volume to it. So I've also written 4 novels that are just about complete in a series. I'm going to publish that here probably within the year.
Again, this book is titled Boom, Baby, Boom. It's written by Gary Chase, published by Newman Springs Publishing, and available basically everywhere, like Amazon and Barnes & Noble and iTunes, also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Gary, thank you so much again for coming on the show and telling me all about your work. It's been really great talking with you.
It's been great talking to you, and thanks for having me.
From Fear to Faith, My Journey with Jesus. That's the new book written by Candi Leonard. And that's what we're going to talk about. Candi is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Candi, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you.
Candi, can you tell me all about From Fear to Faith and what readers can find here?
Yeah, this is a book that probably 7 or 8 years ago, I kept feeling God put it on my heart to write a book. And I wasn't sure what that would look like. So I did several different attempts at just books about funny stories and books about funny things. And nothing really worked out. I find that I'm a not as funny writing as what I thought I was. Anyway, I basically sat down and was like, Lord, I don't know what you want me to write, but I feel that you want me to write a book. And I guess it was a little bit after that I was praying one night. I was on my knees and I got back into bed, and it was like I felt God saying, go ahead and pray some more. There's something different tonight. And so I did. And sure enough, as soon as I started praying again, the chapters of the book just started coming into my mind. And I sat down and wrote the first chapter. And some of the chapters at the end, I hadn't written that night, or I didn't know the chapters would be there yet. But anyway, I'm a procrastinator. So it ended up taking me a while to finish the book. And then I kept it for me for a while. And a couple of years ago, it's like I felt the Lord saying, hey, it's time to publish it. Go ahead and let other people read your story. And hopefully, the things that I've struggled with throughout my lifetime and the different funny stories that I have can touch others and, just open those conversations up.
Candi, what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I've actually talked to a lot of the people that have read the book already. My brother, he's a middle-aged man, and he said, I really feel like, even he can relate to some of the stories in the book. I think a lot of times, since I am a woman writing, sometimes women may get the stories a little bit more, but I've also had other men tell me that they've read it and really enjoy it. My best friend, her niece is 13, and she actually read it start to finish and said that she really enjoyed it. Even my nephews kicks out of some of the stories, even though they may not understand all the spiritual references yet. So really, I think it's for anybody at any age who's ever struggled with fear.
So how did this come about, Candi? What inspired you to write your story and then publish it?
Just literally the first story, just the Lord, feeling like it's important to share things that we've been through and different situations that have arisen in our own lives to, inspire others and to hopefully help them walk through difficult situations. And I feel like I'm always learning and growing, and I've read things in different people's, stories that they've written, and I've heard different people tell things that makes me think, wow, it's just such a great thing to learn about and a great thing to hear about. And, it's carried me further and deeper in my relationship with Christ. And so that's the reason that I wrote the book and decided to publish it.
So what does your writing background look like? Do you have experience in this, or is this sort of new ground for you?
Oh, totally new ground. I have my aunt, when I was in school, she was my English teacher in 7th and 8th grade. And she said, you can talk however you want, but you need to learn to write right. So anyway, she taught us how to write correctly, but other than that, I literally have no writing experience. So this is new.
So once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, was there anything about that publishing process, Candi, that you found particularly challenging for you?
So far, Christian Faith has been really great to work with. I think as we go through and I start to see all the resources that they provide, I'm going to see if there's any challenges in using those resources or not. But so far, they've been really great. The lady who really made me want to go with Christian Faith Publishing, her name is Miss Julie Shepard, and she's the literary agent that works there. And speaking with her was just very personable, and she was really great through the whole process. The thing I found the most challenging actually was when they would correct the things that I had done wrong. Sometimes I wouldn't catch the correction or would catch the other correction, and I would go back and either correct it again or correct it wrong. So it took me a little bit to work through the corrections process, but they were really good about editing and showing me what they had fixed, and so that was all good.
Then that day finally came, Candi. It was real. That first copy came in. You were holding From Fear to Faith in your hands for that first time. What was that like for you?
Oh my gosh, I was so pumped. I had just gotten to the house and I was like, it's here. Me and my friend, she was with me, and we were both just really excited and just very thankful that the Lord allowed me to do this and walk me through this process. It's just been really neat for me to hold it and see what God's doing and what God's already done.
Well, what a great message in this book. Again, it's titled From Fear to Faith, My Journey with Jesus. It's written by Candi Leonard, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available places like Amazon, and Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Candi, thank you so much again for coming on the show. It was so nice talking with you.
Thank you so much. It was really nice talking with you as well.
I'm looking at a book that is a tale of self-acceptance, perseverance, and the power of friendship. It's titled Shoe, and it's written by Tower C. Believes. And Tower is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. That's what we're going to be talking about. Tower, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm curious about what readers are going to find in Shoe, Tower. Can you tell me all about it?
Well, Shoe is, like you said, a self-discovery. It's a positive, motivating children's book that will inspire self-confidence and awareness and just let individuals know that no matter what differences we all may have, we all matter, and we can inspire each other by helping each other and encouraging each other. So along the journey of Shoe and some of his single-fold friends who are not paired footwear, they discover their individual talents and inspire each other to showcase their talents through a fundraiser. And their confidence level, admiration, and self-esteem is brought to the surface. You know, they get some help from their main teacher, Mr. Cleats, and the actual owner of the Feet Beat company in which they were all manufactured. That's pretty much the premise of Shoe.
I love the message that you have here. How did this all come about? What inspired you to write this?
Well, I produce music, and I've always sang and write. I have a recording studio, and back in the 90s, some of my friends would, you know how you say to someone, you'll say, hey, what's up, or whatever. And we had this whole thing where we just said, Shoe. It was just a positive term of endearment when you see your friend you haven't seen for a while, or just to acknowledge their presence. So over the years, I'd say about 3 years ago, I had the idea. I said, wait a minute, let me kind of put this together, because it's always felt good. And I say it to strangers or coworkers, and I Shoe, and they, you know, kind of lift their day a little bit. So it was just a positive expression. So saying that, and then, you know, the way it was spelled, I said, well, let me put my pen to the paper and see what I can come up with.
Tower, have you written or published before this?
No, first-time author. So, yeah, it was my first time attempting to write a book, and I knew if I did write a book, it would be initially a fiction, and I was sort of led to write a children's book, primarily because, as we all know, kids have access to social media outlets where there's a lot of comparisons in the form of looking like a particular person or trying to imitate someone else's culture, and, you know, the children have access to so many different things that aren't always what's best for them. And I just figured I'd write something that kind of touched some of those areas of self-discovery and self-love, and so people could realize they're wonderfully made, and so we're all different. That was kind of like my motivating factor to write this book.
And one thing that's really important in a book like this is the illustrations. Tower, was that a smooth process to get those illustrations lined up just the way you wanted?
Initially, I was working with the publishing company, and I was trying to describe some of my illustrations, because I sketched some of them out and I was describing it to them. And they said, you know, I said, well, it's a shoe. And they said, well, does it have legs? And how does it walk about? I said, well, the shoe is the body, and there'll be arms and just eyes. And they had the mouth originally up in the middle. So there was a little back and forth. But finally, they were coming around to understanding my vision. And I knew what I wanted, but it was just kind of hard to, when you don't know what to expect, to express it and to describe it. So we got it to where I felt good about it. So that's how they came about. I knew they were going to be individual, and my intention was to kind of make it multicultural and try to touch base on all different ethnicities in the book itself.
Well, again, this book is titled Shoe. It's written by Tower C. Believes, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes, also at traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Tower, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been really nice talking with you tonight.
Thank you so much for your time.
I'm looking at an interactive coloring book designed to help young readers learn all about different marine animals. It's written by Loukya Muthyala, and it's titled Ocean Wonders, Loukya is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to be talking all about it. Loukya, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Hi.
Can you tell me all about Ocean Wonders and what readers are in store for?
Ocean Wonders is a children's coloring book, and it has sketches of whales and stingrays, sharks on each page, and it comes with the facts as well, just to create interest among the readers. It's for children from the ages of 5 to 11, but also beyond that, anybody could read it if they're interested in marine life. Yeah, that's about it.
How did this all come about? What inspired you to write this one?
Well, I always loved sketching. So I moved to Florida like 5 years ago to live with my husband, and we lived in Palm Beach. So we often went to the beach, and we decided to take a charter boat and go for fishing. And, the beaches in Palm Beach and South Florida are just so beautiful. The one that we went for fishing to, it was just so transparent. I mean, you could see what's happening underneath the water until 90 feet.
Oh, wow.
So the sharks came in and they were trying to get our catch. And we just moved to a different place and we got to see flying fish and stingrays as well. It was just so beautiful. At the same time, I think in the same month or later, we went to Seaquarium in Miami and we got to see more marine life. And it was just so wonderful to see them and learn about them. And then following that, I got to watch a documentary on whales and how they put up an orchestra in the ocean and how intelligent are they and how huge and how they take care of their babies. It was just so interesting for me. Everything was so wonderful. And then I thought I could sketch them. And then I started reading about them. And I got an idea to just put it all together for more people to read it, mostly kids. And now I have my son who is like 18 months old. And I think about when he's ready and when he reads it, I think it would be interesting for him.
So before this, have you been published or is this all kind of new for you?
This is my first book, so I haven't published before.
Congratulations. Being your first one, did this take you a really long time to write and then put through that publishing process?
Well, it took some time because I was doing my full-time job. I was working on that as well. And then I sketched on the weekends and when I'm free and to just, get away, I just sketch. So I think it took about a year or so researching about the facts. And yeah, I think it took about a year or so.
And then once you started working with your publisher, Hawes & Jenkins, Loukya, what did you find the most challenging part of that publishing end of things?
It took a long time for editing, and it's just the waiting. The waiting was so hard for me. I was like, okay, when is it going to come out? Okay, when is it going to come out? I was just, asking them, okay, what's the update? It took so long for editing and all of that. So waiting was really hard for me personally.
And then after all that waiting, it was finally a real thing. Your first copy came in and you were holding it in your hands, Loukya. What kind of a moment was that like for you?
I just couldn't believe it. It came in the mail and then my husband brought it into the house and then I was like so excited to see it and I couldn't believe that it's, I'm holding my book and it's just so exciting.
What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Some of my friends' kids actually started coloring and reading the book and I got to, be with them while they're doing it. And how they enjoyed the book and everything. That just brought so much joy that, that I could bring that to them and they could enjoy and read, maybe foster a love for marine life in the future, or maybe just, be a part of their creative journey while they color and just enjoy the book and maybe learn doing that. That's the most rewarding part for me.
What are the chances that you'll be publishing more down the road?
I'm working on another book. Yeah, it might take some time. I just started working on it and maybe in the future it might come out sometime.
Well, the book is titled Ocean Wonders. It's written by Loukya Muthyala and published by Hawes & Jenkins Publishing. So find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Loukya, thank you again for being on the show. It's been really nice talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Author Lawrence Newton has just written a new book. It's book 1 of the Demon Within series. It's titled The Demonic Savior, and Lawrence is sitting right here with me. We're going to talk all about it. Lawrence, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Lawrence, you got to tell me all about the demonic savior and what readers are going to expect to find here.
Well, the demonic savior is the first in a 3-part series that initially started as my attempt to write a serial killer thriller type novel in the first person. As the story evolved, it developed into a deeper meaning of how people tend to address their personal inner demons, i.e. alcoholism, drugs, adultery, anything like that. And it led to 2 other books that follows that address how the main characters confront their inner demon in their own personal way.
So what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I suppose the target audience I kind of went for was someone who enjoys a dark thriller, maybe it's a true crime, even though there's no reality to any of the story. Those that have read the story have come back to me and said that it reads similar to Stephen King novels, but I've never actually read Stephen King, and I would in no way ever consider myself as talented as Mr. King, at least not at this point in my career. So, yeah.
So how did this all come about, Lawrence? Where'd you get the idea for it?
That's actually a tough one. I was sitting in an airport terminal on my way to Bogotá, Colombia, excuse me. I was talking to my wife on the phone, and I said, I don't think they've ever written a novel about a serial killer in the first person. And I said, I can understand why, because even if you were to interview a serial killer, how do you know the information you're getting is legit? They're going to lie. They're going to try to trump up because they're all about the publicity, right? So despite the fact that I'm not a serial killer, which I'm not, I did my best to try to put my mindset into what the serial killer was thinking, so to be able to write that storyline and attempt to do it. So I feel I hit it. I hope the readers feel the same way. And that's pretty much what kicked it off.
So is this your first time doing something like this, Lawrence, or do you have some experience in the writing and publishing thing?
No, this is definitely my first book. The second in the series is already in print, and I've been writing the third one ever since. There's some details I want to get worked out. I like to keep the reality aspect behind the storyline. And in the process of doing my research there, I accomplished a 4th book that's going through the editorial process right now, so to speak.
So once you got started writing The Demonic Savior, Lawrence, clear up through the publishing and everything, was this a really long process?
For some, it may be. It really and truly depends on the avenue a person wants to take. In my case, I found Newman Springs and published through them. It kind of went rather fast, everything considered, so no complaints there. Clearly unpublished, right?
Right. So once you started working with your publisher, Newman Springs, was there anything about that publishing process that you found particularly challenging?
The marketing. That's like the hardest thing, I think, in any business process. Now, granted, I say that because I wrote the story, and for me, it just came. It flowed. I know for some people that's not always the case. As you're going through the publishing process, to get published isn't that hard. But getting the marketing down and making yourself known is the challenging part, because if nobody knows you, nobody's going to pick up your book. You can write the greatest story on the face of the planet, and if nobody knows it exists, it's not going to get known.
And then finally that day came for you, Lawrence. That first copy came in. You were holding this in your hands for that first time. What was that like for you?
Kind of humbling, I guess. The all of it all, just like I don't think that's even set in today. I have sat here and, plenty of people have sat there and said, hey, this is great, you're published. And it's not that I don't understand any of that, but I just enjoy putting the stories down. So I guess the full aspect of being actually published doesn't really set in.
So it's official. You're a published author now, Lawrence. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
Just being able to get my story out there. Knowing that someone out there has the opportunity to enjoy it, much like I enjoyed reading books and whatnot as a kid growing up and later on in my adult life.
Well, again, this is book 1 in the Demon Within series. It's titled The Demonic Savior. It's written by Lawrence Newton, published by Newman Springs Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere. Places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and also right down the street at your local bookshop. Well, Lawrence, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been really great chatting with you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you too.
This book is a spiritual journey of a young girl searching for the light amidst darkness. It's written by Dawn. It's titled Manasseh is Coming. Dawn is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're going to be talking all about the book. Dawn, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Dawn, can you tell me all about what readers are going to find whenever they open up Manasseh is Coming?
What readers are going to find about Manasseh is Coming is this book began long before I started writing the book. I was searching in my life for someone I knew that I had to find, and I never truly lost God. And somehow I knew that I had to find him. I didn't know who to go to find the answers for this. And this book pulls back the veil on something many people feel, but few understand. I've learned after finding Christ that we're not just dealing with bad choices or broken systems. We are in a spiritual war for identity, and the enemy doesn't need to destroy you. And you and I outright. He just needs to simply convince you and I we are someone that we are not. This deception starts early, through trauma, through silence, through lies. I walk readers through the truth about what we are really up against. Wolves in sheep's clothing, false comfort, spiritual blindness. But more than that, this book shows the power of restored identity through Christ and how the blood of the Lamb breaks the grip of the flesh and opens the way to truth, purpose, and eternity. There came a moment in my life when I was taken outside of my body. I saw my flesh lying on the ground. And in that moment, I wasn't afraid. I saw clearly. The world that I thought I knew had faded. The spiritual war became real. But that clarity did not come without a cost. After that, I endured abuse, seizures, and betrayal from those around me, even in childhood. I saw firsthand how darkness tries to silence the soul early, through tears, confusion, pain. The Lord began to reveal the battle behind the scenes, and when I started to hear the word from the pulpit, it was like a puzzle pieces coming together. God wasn't just comforting me, He was equipping me. I began to understand how to stand, how to see, how to speak truth in the middle of deception. We are living in the final stretch of borrowed time. The spiritual clock is ticking, and truth is being silenced in plain sight. People are searching, but they're being fed lies dressed up as comfort. Identity has become a battlefield, and the enemy knows if he can confuse who you are, he can keep you from ever discovering whose you are. This book matters because it speaks what many feel but haven't had the words for. It's a warning, but it's also a lifeline. There's still time to wake up, to return to truth, and reclaim your identity before the clock stops. This book isn't just my story. It's a call to remember who you are, who created you, whether you felt alone, confused, or silenced. Know this, you were made with purpose, and you are not beyond God's reach.
Dawn, what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
Anybody who is definitely looking for the absolute truth and understanding spiritual warfare at a deeper level. The spiritual warfare, when people read the Bible, they kind of understand what it's saying, but they don't fully understand what it's saying. This book brings spiritual warfare to an elementary level and also answers the very complex questions of our society and our existence. Like, if God exists, then why is there suffering? This book answers questions such as this and brings down how the devil attacks us in our everyday walk of life.
So how did this come about, Dawn? What gave you the idea to write it?
When I was a very young child, I remember staring at my flesh body. There was an incident that occurred that I was outside of my body, and I knew that we were more than just a flesh component. I knew that we were more. And I spent my entire life from the moment I was 5 years old trying to find the words to bring to an understanding that we are more. And it was not until I trusted Christ Jesus that I began to put the pieces together of what it was I understood as a 5-year-old child.
Is this your first published work, Dawn?
This is my first published work. Yes, it is.
So was the writing, the publishing, and everything, was this a long journey for you overall?
It took me 20 years of studying the spiritual battle to find the words, but 5 years of writing to write this book, to actually sit down and put it into words.
Well, what a blessing this book is going to be for so many readers. It's titled Manasseh is Coming. It's written by Dawn, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, also right down the street at your local bookshop. Dawn, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to me about Manasseh is Coming. It was great talking with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Sitting down with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, author Jesse Weisbrod. Jesse, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to say congratulations. You have a new book out titled A Brand Plucked from the Fire. Jesse, can you tell me all about this?
Yes, It's the testimony of my life story and the array of experiences that it entailed, from being born in 1970s third world Mexico to growing up in middle class Southern California to 1990s gang violence of Los Angeles, addiction, trafficking, the occult, prison, mental illness, to having a life-changing encounter with Jesus Christ.
Jesse, what kinds of readers did you write this for?
My target reader would be predominantly the struggling believer who thinks or feels that they can't change, or that they're having difficulty trusting in the grace of God to change their situation.
So what was your inspiration to write this, Jesse? Where'd you get the idea?
Sitting in a prison cell, I began to think of the plethora of experiences I've been through. And I wanted to put it on paper to encourage anybody in those shoes to not take that path.
So is this your first published book then?
Yes, it is.
So Jesse, once you started on it, clear up through the publishing process and everything, was this a really long journey that you were on?
Well, the short answer to that would be yes, because I began to write in a prison cell, and upon paroling, I kind of put it off. 17 years went by, and when I was healed and delivered and in a different place spiritually, I completed it. So it took about 17 years. From then on, which was a year and a half ago, to now, it's been long in so much as, you know, the antsiness and the anxiety of kind of chewing on my nails and waiting for it to come out, so to speak.
So once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, Jesse, was there anything about that publishing process you would say is particularly challenging for you?
Just waiting, because they were with me every step of the way.
And there is nothing like seeing that thing that you've been working toward all that time. The day came, your first copy came in, and you were holding this book for the first time, Jesse. What was that like for you?
Surreal and amazing to think that all the pain and sorrow of the past was turning to joy and a new life, and how God changed it. And to have it encapsulated in a book for the world to read was an amazing feeling.
And so now you're officially a published author. Jesse, what do you think is the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
The hope of, again, all the suffering and pain of my past, and how I was turned around and would be able to help somebody else in life to go forward.
Looking ahead, Jesse, do you think you might be writing and publishing more?
I think so. Nothing officially at the moment, but I have ideas in my head.
A lot of people who are listening to us right now are authors just starting out as well, Jesse. Do you have maybe some advice that you could throw out there for them?
Yes. Don't lose heart. I mean, if I started writing in a dimly lit prison cell, which is a little piece of a pencil and a yellow writing tablet, and 17 years later I was able to complete it, if I can do it, you can do it. So don't lose heart. Don't get discouraged.
I'm looking at it right now, and Jesse, this cover is really bold. Can you tell me how that all came together?
The idea was, it's called the brand plucked from the fire, because God plucked me out of the fires of mental turmoil and misery and pain and sorrow and literally hell, to let the world know that there's hope in Him. So I explained that to the publishers, and they did an amazing job in putting that on a visual, if you will.
Jesse, who's been inspiring or motivating to you throughout this whole process?
The Lord Jesus Christ.
While you were writing this, Jesse, were there times where the writing might have got hard, you didn't know what to write next, maybe like a writer's block kind of thing?
Yes.
How'd you get through that? Did you have a way that you would maybe get those words going again?
That's why my advice was, don't get discouraged, because I would put it to the side and think, okay, I'm done. And then in the future it would come to me again. I would pick up the tablet and continue writing.
And I've noticed, speaking with so many authors here, is that a lot of them also love to read as well. Jesse, would you call yourself a big reader?
Not like I used to. I used to be in my younger years.
Again, this book is titled A Brand Plucked from the Fire. It's written by Jesse Weisbrod, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Jesse, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been really great talking with you.
It's been great for you having me. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. We hope to see you back here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.